Yeah, we left off Nun Aleph, page 111. Okay, we'll start from Nun Aleph again. Yitfo shloshet tfiros b'chol tzad. You have 3 stitches on each side of the bias, which we'll see which forms the square. V'chut tfil yasoviv m'shtei ruchos. Not sure what that means. And the thread which you sew with should encircle it on 2 sides. V'yaver chut tfira ben kol bias. And that thread should actually pass from one bias to the other. Meaning you have 4 compartments. Hago miu imlo osa rak yutfiros opochs mizer. Let's say he made less than 12 stitches, less than 3 on each side. Let's say he had 2 on each side. Eno nifsol, it's valid. Yesh mishom should be tfiros elu yu bechut echod. Others say that it should be with 1 thread. The 12 stitches should be with 1 thread, not 2 threads. That's in Mishna Berura, Nun Aleph. B'chol tzad, tamlu yud beis tfiros. Why are they 12 stitches?
Yeah,
Neged yud beis shiftei Yisrael. Because we're saying it's not makiv. It corresponds to the 12 tribes. V'lobino tfiro toch habayis, rak somach labayis. Okay? Meaning, when you put the stitch, the stitch goes through the mabarta, right through the rim that goes around it. Now the question is, how close is that stitch? Is it closer to the edge, or it should be closer to the bias? Because the bias is in the center, right? So he says, it doesn't have to be toch habayis, the stitch, when you stitch it closed. It should be somach labayis. And if it's around, you can see the stitch. Make tofrim ketofi begodim, bisvas habeged belishir. Right? He says, it's not like when you stitch clothing, you sew clothing, it's near the edge, without leaving over material, right? It's at the very edge. Elam shayr min atitura chutz letfiro. You leave from the titura chutz letfiro. You do leave. There's part of the rim, the stitch. Okay? V'tzorech she'or habatim milmato lefiv yu yotzim mikol arba ruchoseim at yu magim tachas nikve atfiro. Yeah, hear what he's saying. Inside, if you open up the bias, if you open up the tefillin on the bottom, you could see where the bias, how it goes in, right? So he says, if you open it up, you should see from when it's open that the stitches all around the bias, because it's going through the rim around, and it should be achi magim tachas nikve atfira. It's from all 4 sides of the batim. 1 second. She magim tachas nikve atfira. It goes. I'm not sure. No. It does. Kadesh yitfor or abatim kol tzad im atituro lo kasofrim hamakachin or shel batim shein over holo tachas nikve atfira. Even if it's from one, the bias, even if it's 1 or they pull it down further. The bias goes below the titura, inside, below the rim. Doesn't make a difference. It's soft. You could pull it down. It's like doubled over down there. Like within the titura, within the rim, it's pulled down beyond it. So when you put the stitch in, the bias is below the stitch, inside. Okay, that's what he's saying. Shein over holo tachs nikvei atfiro veino nitferes klal im atituro. Rak shemahatkin abayis b'toch arubo shel atituro. I hear what he's saying. It seems to be. It seems no. It seems even if it's 1 piece. Let's say it's folded over down there, right? When it's off, they pull it underneath. So when you put the stitch through, the stitch is going through the bias, the bottom of the bias. Okay. So, but the way they do it, it's short, so it's only through the mabarta. The stitch is not going through the bottom of the bias. it's going through the bias is like wedged into the rim, into the base, but the stitch has nothing to do with the bias.
Who does that?
He says, Sofrim, he says they're doing the wrong thing. There's some scribes, that's the way they do the tefillin. When they sew it, they web, even if it's made of two pieces of leather, it's wedged in, so the stitch is not going through the bias, it's not being sewn together with the rim. And even if it's one piece, wait a second. The Baruch Shema writes a certain work. He says he invalidated many pairs of film because of this, because of the way it was made. The stitch has to go through the bottom of the bias when it goes below, together with the rim. The stitch has to go through both.
If it's one piece of leather or two?
If it's one or two, it doesn't make a difference.
I always thought it was I thought it had to be one piece.
There's nothing going underneath. You just get it up there like a crease around.
You can't see what it is unless you open up the film. You can't see what it is.
Rabbi, I thought it was supposed to be one piece of leather.
It is one. It is one. You glue it or whatever it is. Well, let's say it's short. Let's say it's glued to the side of the mabarta, the rim. Right? Well, even if it's one piece of leather. Let's say the leather, it's not pulled down. No, it's not back up. The bias has nothing to do with the rim. The bias has to go underneath, so when you put the stitch through the rim, you're also going through the bias.
Right.
Let's say it's made of one piece of leather, right? And the way they fold it, it's like a double fold under there, right? It's folded under.
Right.
So when you put the stitch, it goes through both. It goes through the bias, the bottom of the bias, and it goes through the rim.
That piece has to be shut. You're folding this one piece and then
No, it's more than it has to be shut. Even if it's one piece, it's shut, but the question is when they formed it in the form, that the bias, when it goes down, part of that leather, does it pull under? Or it just goes straight down, and when you put the stitch through, it has nothing to do with the bias? Okay, visual aids, I understand. Yeah. Yeah. Here, you see this. You see the bias. The bottom of the bias also has a rim on it. Besides the mabar, that goes under the mabar. See this? This has a lip that goes under the rim. So when you put the stitch through the rim, it's going through the bottom of the bias. So
Yeah, it's two pieces.
it's not. It's really not two pieces.
This is another piece.
It's only shown in the picture that way. The way they make the film, let's say it's one piece of leather. The way they form it.
Yeah, that looks like two pieces.
Here, because he's showing you the picture. No, they have that two different people. They have the bottom maker, and you have the sofer. The sofer only puts it together. Okay, let's see further. A sofer? Depends, you know. First, a lot of these people, it's really a secret. Because, you know, it's an expertise. You know what a pure bottom could cost today? Pure bottom costs you $2,000, just a bottom. And it takes a long time to make it because it has to be processed. It's like a certain process. The chemicals and the way it's sanded, and the way it's formed, and the way it's put in the press. It's like today, you know, people are mauling. You know, they don't teach it to anybody. You know, they keep it in the family. You know what a mole can make a week? A mole can make a few $1,000s a day, being a mole. A few $1,000s a day. So he keeps it in the family. He doesn't train anybody else but his own family. And in Israel, when you train to be a mole, you have to pay a fee to be trained. And there's a condition that you can only work where, you know, they're like it's like a franchise. It's only certain areas. You cannot be a mole, let's say in Yerushalayim or certain cities. That's the precondition. And not only that, the products that the mole uses, the stringents or whatever is to repair, they have to buy it from the one who trained them. So there's all kinds of multi-layered marketing on this one, because the person wants to keep it for his family. In the United States, they only train the family. They don't train other people.
So an Israeli Moel who finds himself in New York and somebody asks him to be my son, cannot
I
do
think
it.
some of them, no, if the agreement was he could. But even the ones, I think they even have to give a certain percentage. They have to give a percentage of what they charge. They have to send back to the original person who trained them. There are all kinds of conditions, whatever the condition is.
And how can you do it? It takes 7 years to train sushi. You make sushi. You go through the sushi.
Okay. So he says the thread that you sew the tefillin, Mechaber says it only has to be mishtei ruchos. What does that mean on two sides? Rotzaloma shekol hatviro yi musuveves mishnei tzodim pon ve'ochor. Nimtze tovi mishnei machtim achas yotzis lo'ochor v'achas nechneses l'tzar hapnim. Not sure what he means there. Does he have a picture on that? David. Shekol hatviro hi musuveves mishnei tzodim. He says pon ve'ochor. The thread goes in and out. Nimtze tofer b'shtei machtim. He sews with 2 needles. Achas yotzis lo'ochor v'achas nechneses l'tzad pinim. Which means he has 1 needle going in this way, and on the other side there's a needle going the other way.
But when you're sewing, right, you either...
Yeah, what do you need 2 needles? What do you need 2 needles? You just have 1 needle. We'll see in a minute, you make a knot. You start off with a knot on one side, so that wedges it in. Then you start sewing, as you normally sew.
But when you sew, what's on the bottom in one stitch is the top is empty.
So you come
The
back.
other one's
So you could come back.
So that's the thing.
Yeah. So what does it mean? You have 2. It says it's only 2 sides. What do you mean 2 sides? On all 4 sides you have to do this, right? You have to come back on all 4 sides because you need a stitch on the bottom, you need a stitch on top. Shekol hatviro yimsuveves mishnei tzodim parvo. That's what he means, on top and bottom. Nimtze tofer b'shtei machtim. He says you sew, I don't know what he means with 2 needles, so you can use the same needle. Achas yotzis lo, ach nechnes l'tzad pinim. Miu, v'chein lo hever chut hatviro, eno maki b'di'evet. Again, what does he say? Reish Lamed. What does he say when on 2 needles? Miu imlo osa rakyu tfiro so pochs mise eno nifso. Miu, yeah. Chen imlo hever chut hatfiro. Eno ma'aki b'di'evet. Yeshut ches. What do you mean? Ayin le'el. Simen kusifkot Reshut Zayin. What? We're in Reish Lamed. Are you too far? Here. Base. I think what he means, I think if it doesn't go on both sides. What happens, he just stitches it down, back, it's not on, it's stitched on both sides. You know, we have it, the stitches on both sides. You can see the stitch, the full stitch. 3 stitches on the bottom, 3 stitches on top. What happens, he went down, up, and he just keeps going. He doesn't go back. is it valid? The diabet is valid. It does not have to be a stitch on top and bottom. Yeah. Okay. To be continued. No, which means on both sides.
Right, if you supposed to use one thread, then you can coming back with the same thread.
No. When he goes in, he goes back, and he has to go back because it's like a full sides, right? It's covered. The tefillin, the stitch covers the tefillin. If you go just like this and keep going, that means that one of the stitches on top it's going to be empty, right? So therefore, you have to go back. What happens if you didn't go back? So it's not like a double stitch. See, it's valid. The diabet is valid. The chatchila, it should be a double stitch. On top and bottom, you see the stitch. But even if you didn't go back, as long as it's stitched through on each side, it's okay. That's what he means. Okay?
On the Brit Milah, somebody who is very knowledgeable, studies the laws of Brit Milah,
Yeah.
and he finds himself in a place where there is nobody to perform Brit Milah. Someone like you, would you perform it?
No. If somebody needs open heart surgery and somebody's going to die, if nobody, would I perform it? I'd kill the person. Of course not. What? Of course I would do it.